Hi, I'm Laura Cox, Shield Healthcare's Ostomy Lifestyle Specialist, and today I wanted to talk about mental health before and after ostomy surgery. I feel like I can't neglect mental health before ostomy surgery because chances are if you are going through ostomy surgery, you've been sick either for a long time or are pretty severely sick. And just living with an illness can be extremely mentally challenging. The thing that I want to share about what was hardest for me was not necessarily the physical pain of going through a chronic illness, but it was the obviousness of not having control over my own life. So any plans that I made, it felt like I had to cancel because I was too sick to do them. I was actually kind of excited to get ostomy surgery because I pictured it as a way to regain this control over my life. And I kind of fantasized that it would fix everything. That is where my challenges came in after ostomy surgery. So one of the first things that people ask me when we talk about surgery and preparing for surgery is body image, because you now have a different anatomy and now you have this medical device adhering to your abdomen, and although it can be opaque so you don't have to necessarily see what is filling the bag, you still know that there is stool or urine there, and I think that can be kind of detrimental to people's self-concept and body image. I think it's just important to find ways to be able to feel good about yourself. Just finding a way to accept the way your body is now. Another thing about living with an ostomy is that it is a constant reminder that you are sick. It's a visible reminder. I go to the bathroom probably 8 times a day. 8 times a day, I am reminded that I had to have an organ removed in order to survive. And sometimes you just want to forget about it for a little bit. But on bad days, on days where I'm feeling down or a little bit depressed, it's harder to look at my ostomy because it's a reminder of all the physical pain, and it's a reminder that it's been a pretty difficult journey. Another thing that has been kind of mentally and emotionally challenging for me is the fear of eating that ostomy surgery has created for me. Now, it's important to note that everyone is totally different with what they can and can't eat. In my case, I formed a lot of scar tissue, so that means that eating some foods that are normally healthy for people, like raw vegetables and raw fruits and skins of apples and things like that, are actually pretty dangerous. So for me, it wasn't necessarily the normal fear of eating for how I look, but it was a fear of, will this put me back in the hospital? Really, how I've dealt with that is by educating myself on what I can and can't eat, chewing really well, drinking tons of water before and after I eat, and being a little brave and experimenting. Another thing that I and many of the people I've talked about living with ostomy struggles with is depression and anxiety. But I think it is so incredibly normal when you go through something really difficult, painful, and life-altering that depression and anxiety can be a part of that. I did have an instance 6 years after surgery where I had a leak at a friend's house and I was wearing a white shirt, and all of a sudden there's a big brown spot on it. It really reminded me that I'm very lucky to have a pouching system that works. When people start out after ostomy surgery, they may not know how to pouch correctly. They may not find the right pouching system, so they may have leaks. And there is some anxiety. I remember feeling nervous to go anywhere after I had that leak, and I felt nervous to wear white instead of black or brown. And I think how I got over that is just to reassess my pouching system and also to pack extra supplies with me, maybe bring a shirt with me wherever I went. And after I had many successful outings without having a leak, my anxiety kind of decreased again. The last thing I want to talk about is something that feels very personal to me. I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. Medical tests and surgeries and chronic illness in and of itself can be very traumatizing. Much of my trauma actually happened before surgery, and I experienced flashbacks, and there are certain things that bring those flashbacks on. I remember probably 3 weeks after ostomy surgery, after getting out of the hospital, my mom and I went to a grocery store, and I just started crying because I looked around and I literally knew that I could eat probably 4 things in that grocery store at the time. And for me, one of the biggest challenges is the only permanent home we ever have is our body. And having an autoimmune disease for me felt like my own home, my own body was trying to kick me out. In a way, I have felt since diagnosis that I'm homeless, that the vessel that I live in, my body, doesn't want me here. And that's a really scary, traumatic thing. And so how I've coped with that is by trying to form an actual good relationship with my body. I try to nurture it. I try to eat right. I try to exercise. And I try to remind myself that I'm still here. And so I just really want to normalize for people going through chronic illness of any kind. It can be traumatic, and that doesn't mean you're weak. That doesn't mean that you are broken. It just means that you've been dealt a hard hand. To hold both of those truths, right? That it's been really difficult and emotionally and physically painful, and also that it's the reason that I'm still alive and I still find so much joy in living. So there's a lot of gratitude there too. I hope you are happy and healthy, and that this video was helpful in letting you know you're not alone in experiencing all different types of emotions living with a chronic illness and an ostomy.